read and write too well because somebody else had an accident on Market Avenue and Broad. So he told the guy to come over to Broad because he couldn't spell Margaret. Then we also had a Jewish fireman. His last name was Goldberg. I think, I'm not quite sure, but I may be wrong. I think his first name was Herman. That's the last we ever had a Jewish policeman and a Jewish fireman. That goes back this is to at least the year 1965. Yeah.
Okay. Will you tell me about Rabbi Goldberger?
Rabbi Goldberger was here 20 years, and he I guess the only problem he had was that he when he got up to talk, he never quit. You know, that happened yesterday, in fact. But unfortunately, he came here, he was a divorced man. Why he got divorced, that I can't tell you. But he was here 20 years, and he was very close to Meisner, Mrs. Meisner. It was very close to her, yeah. And he was very, very intelligent, very knowledgeable in the Bible. If you asked him a question, he didn't have to look it up, and he'd give you the direct answer. Like some rabbis will say, well, yes and no, you know, but he didn't say yes or no. He gave it the way it should be. In fact, I got a book here now called Get More Out of Being Jewish. It's a lot of questions there, yeah, you know.
Did the synagogue used to have a mikveh?
Yeah, in fact, when I was bar mitzvah, I remember they didn't use the mikveh, but they put the sodas and the cold drinks in the mikveh to keep it cold with ice. They didn't have no refrigerators in the synagogue at that time. See, I was bar mitzvah in 1932. I was bar mitzvah. That was the height of depression in all over the United States. In fact, people lost so much money in the stock market, some committed suicide. And unfortunately, there was a Jewish man in Altoona committed suicide. He lost all his money in the stock market, yeah. And I remember my bar mitzvah wasn't like elaborate like they have today. My mother baked the bread, my mother made the fish, my mother made the cakes, and my dad went up to Gallitzin. It's a little town near Altoona, and there was a bootlegger up there. They didn't sell whiskey in state stores like they do now, and he bought a gallon of moonshine, I'd call it. And I remember him asking the bootlegger if it was kosher. He said, naturally, it's made out of potatoes. You know, and that time was $4 for a gallon of whiskey. So my whole bar mitzvah party cost around $30. That's for like one person a day, huh? Okay.
Do you remember when women and men...
Do you remember when women and men... Yeah, sure.
Ask a question.
Do you remember when women and men were separated?
See, at one time, Yehuda Chacham synagogue was an Orthodox synagogue. Mm-hmm. Then when it became conservative, people who were Orthodox, my dad was very Orthodox, and there was a name, Israel Kaufman, who was the grandfather of Harry Kaufman. He was Orthodox, and Morris Schulman, who was Yale Schulman's father, he was Orthodox, and Harry Halprin used to own a lot of apartments and buildings, his family is Orthodox, so they formed this Ove Yosher synagogue on 13th Avenue and 18th Street, and they all went there, but they never had too much success because a lot of people who were there, who were the officers, it wasn't too honest. They didn't even pay dues, and the people there usually, the women sat upstairs and the men downstairs. And like in the Yehuda Chacham synagogue, when it came conservative, I think maybe 1 year women sat upstairs, but then the women and the men started sitting together, and that's why the Jewish people who were, I shouldn't say Jewish people, the people who were in the Yehuda Chacham synagogue who were more Orthodox and conservative went to the other, left the Yehuda Chacham because the women and men were sitting together. The reason for that is if women and men sit together, they don't pay too much attention to the prayers. They pay attention to their wives. Okay. They have that now in the cities. They have a curtain divides what. Now, if you notice in a real Orthodox shul in the cities, a lot of single men don't wear talis. The reason for that is so if they're looking, if a woman or a mother or a father are looking for a husband, they usually spot these guys with no talis and know they're single. They're trying to make a marriage. Okay.
Okay. You're a really good Hebrew reader. How did you become so good at Hebrew?
Well, I'll tell you, I had to say my prayers every morning. And my mother, God bless her, was also very Orthodox. If I wouldn't say my prayers, which starts with Modi Ani Levanecha, I wouldn't get no breakfast. So I should say I'm self-taught. Like I've been doing the services, beginning services and high holidays called Chakras for about 45 years. This way I saved the synagogue a little money. They don't have to pay me. So they can't fire me because they don't pay me,
When I go to synagogue, I see you leading the service. How did that come about?
Well, as I told you, my dad helped teach me a little bit, and there was a rabbi here, Rabbi Yampel, who actually taught me all about reading Hebrew. And when I was bar mitzvah, I had to make a speech in Yiddish and also a speech in English because a lot of people there didn't understand English.
I understand that you take care of the Yortzeit lights in the synagogue.
Yeah, I've been doing that, I guess, for the last 20 years anyhow.
Okay, and that's it. Oh, I just want you to tell me about this picture.
Well, this is my dad when he was a young man, and my mother, and my brother, and my sister. They all left this world. I wasn't born yet. When I was born, my mother was 45 years old. and she was sick ever since I was born.
Bring the picture up here so we can
But
have
God
a
bless her,
close-up.
she lived till she was 95.
Here? Is that good?